guys. Sorry about that busy morning here. All right. Obviously, been preparing here with finals. Been a week full of academics as well as some preparation, clear preparation, and we continue to build towards preparing for Kentucky. I think they're an outstanding team, and a group that's really talented and well coached, and one that obviously is coming off a loss, but albeit a road loss, a true road game, which we know how challenging those are. So looking forward to Saturday night here.
Chris, before to the game, it's been kind of an emotional week for Kentucky as a whole, and I know you took some time to try to help out with that cause. Why was you had the chance to use your platform for something? Why was this an important cause for you to try to do something?
Adam, I think a couple things. One is the connection, obviously, to growing up in the state. The fact that we had Kentucky here upcoming, I think created an opportunity for me to connect with Coach Cal and see if there's a way that we could help. And I don't. My wife and I, we very much feel a responsibility to give back and to contribute into areas and needs that we feel like are important to us, but also, and that's both yearly and then there's things like this that are just devastating to see. When you take a look at some of the footage. The video footage of what happened in Kentucky, and it wasn't just Kentucky. Obviously, Illinois had some issues as well. But when you look at the devastation that happened in those communities, I mean, it's going to take years for some of those communities to get back to where they were. So, listen, in whatever small way we could help and contribute, Lori and I and Nora, we felt like it's important, and I think we feel like it's a responsibility to be a blessing in ways we can be a blessing to, and I hope it was.
I know that's not right down the road from where you grew up. It's a couple hours away. But did you have any sort of ties to that region? Did you have friends, family, anybody where that way?
No, I didn't. I did not. I've been through the area, familiar with that specific area, and been through it several times. Went to my initial college was somewhat close to it, but Kentucky's a pretty small state, and there's a connection across the board, and it's similar to Ohio. Terrific people, smaller communities that are really close, and I know if something like that happened in our state. We'd have a tremendous outpouring of support, not just from people in our state, but from the bordering states.
And how does that have any impact on a game? When a state goes through something like that, and you have the ties like that, does that have any impact on preparation or on what we might see on Saturday?
No, I think the game is separate. We understand it's listen, on Saturday at 5:30 or 5 o'clock, both teams will be ready to compete. We're teammates. We locked arms this week and found ways to help their program and their team, and most importantly, their state and the people that were affected. But we also want to provide a highly competitive, enjoyable game for Buckeye fans and obviously for Kentucky fans to watch on Saturday. One final thing is just a note. I wasn't aware of everything. I was recruiting and it was busy, but I know we had a lot of Ohioans, a lot of Buckeye fans, a lot of people from Buckeye Nation that said that they were going to call in to the telethon or reach out, and I just want to thank them. We have an incredibly generous group of Buckeye fans, and I know how much that was appreciated, and whatever donation you made, I know I appreciate it, and I'm certainly sure that that community appreciates it.
And Coach, what jumps out to you on film when you look at Kentucky, and maybe how does this team compare to the team you played a couple years ago?
Listen, both teams are really talented. They have maybe a few more transfers on this team than what they had, although they had some impact transfers on that team a couple years ago. They obviously have the young man from West Virginia who's a phenomenal player, the best rebounder in the country. He's one of the best low post players in all of college basketball. He is an absolute load. But Wheeler's a tremendous point guard. Ty's going to have a phenomenal year. They've got a lot of guys, a lot of weapons. Keon Brooks is a young man who's kind of grown in his role there. So they're going to have a very good season, and I have no question Kentucky's going to have a very good season. It'll be a great challenge.
And is this the type of matchup where playing the non-conference schedule that you guys have played really does prepare you for a game like this, because you've already seen so many different styles, you've already played neutral site games, and you've already played a bunch of ranked opponents already?
You will see. I would hope so, but I think it really, as you know, it's really about how you perform on that night. Really, there are things that you can certainly take from your previous experience of playing different styles, high-level competition. But then you have to go and perform on that given night, and that's what's in front of us.
When you say you're going against one of the best rebounders in the country, the question is, okay, where does that fit in this? Where does how do you see his physicality kind of responding to such a great challenge, especially since it's something that you said has been consistently improving? What kind of challenge will this be for Zed, and how do you see him kind of responding?
For Zed?
Yeah.
I think, listen, it's going to be a challenge for all of our big guys that go against him. His numbers would suggest he's the best rebounder in the country. The young man from Kentucky is a tremendous player, but he can also score in the low post. So whether it's Zed or Joey or Kyle or EJ or any of those guys, it's going to be a tremendous challenge. Getting him off the glass, beating him to loose balls, beating him down the floor, defending him, and then we're going to have to defend them as a group as well.
When you look at, obviously you're coming off of 2 Big Ten wins. You're coming off, and Griffin was mentioning kind of the styles in which you guys have won. Is this just another style that you guys have an opportunity to kind of perfect? Is it something that, what can you take from this one? And maybe it's an unfair question at this point, but
it's a really talented team that does maybe play a little bit differently in some ways than some teams in the Big Ten. So, but you're just playing a really talented team that's well coached, that's well put together, that's physical. So I think that there's a lot we can take from that game. Obviously, I'll know more after we play, but there's a lot we can take from it for sure.
You mentioned a couple times this year that not just you guys, but teams across the country are going through building and growing pains. And
Yeah.
Do you see that in Kentucky, especially in those 2 losses against the 2 more marquee teams?
Yeah, I don't think you make much of those 2 losses. They played the number 1 team in the country in a neutral site game, and that was it was a pretty close game. And then they went on the road, and listen, how many examples do we need to see across the country where teams go on the road and struggle? I think you just saw another top 10 team lose to an unranked team, and Alabama loses. It wasn't even close, I don't think. They lost to Memphis. It's hard to win on the road. That's why every time you do, you feel great about it, and you guys know that. You've watched enough college basketball to know that. So I don't think you make too much of their loss. Notre Dame played well. I know maybe you could say Notre Dame had struggled a little bit earlier, but they played well. They deserved that. It was a tremendous environment up in South Bend. And I think you find a way to learn from it, as I know John and his staff did, and move forward. They've lost to 2 good teams, one on the road, one of the best teams in the country in a neutral site. They're going to have a really good year. I really believe that.
You've talked about this event before, and obviously you guys have been in it for quite a while now, but the opportunity it presents you, especially going out to Vegas and a venue like that you ran a few years ago. What does the CBS Sports Classic, and specifically this year give you guys?
Well, listen, it's a great venue. And last year we played there, or last time we played there, it's a great environment. Now, make no mistake, this is a road game. Okay, this is a road game. We understand. It was 2 years ago. We expect it to be again. We understand that, and in some ways, you know, that can only help us, honestly. When you play an environment like this, there'll certainly be Buckeye fans out there, and we want as many that want to come. We can't wait to have them there. But we understand when you're playing Kentucky in a neutral site, what that typically feels like after having been through that a couple times and both seeing it in the NCAA tournament. We played North Carolina in the Sweet 16 when we were at Butler, and Kentucky was playing, I believe, UCLA next, and it was an overwhelming crowd. So I think you understand what you're walking into.
When we were talking to you about EJ after the Wisconsin game, you talked about how guys have done a really good job finding him in different positions. You've been able to utilize him in some different ways, and I just wonder, like, in general, how much differently do you feel you've been able to use him this season than you have last year?
Differently. You know, I think the emergence of Zed has helped because it's allowed us to kind of move him around and play him in different spots. I think Zed and Joey both kind of anchoring some of that position has helped because it's allowed us to play him both defensively and offensively on the perimeter. And there's times where most times he's thrived. There's times where he struggled. He really struggled against Towson defensively. But there's also been times where, for the bulk of the year, he's really thrived. He guarded Paolo really, really well. So I think it's a part of his continual growth and maturation. What I've just been really proud of EJ is his fitness level. I think he has, when he's been at his best, he's played with great motor. And when he plays with great motor, when E.J. Liddell plays with great motor, there's no question in my mind he is one of the very best players in the country. No question about it when he plays with great motor.
And he's obviously stepped into a bigger spotlight. That was going to be the case this year no matter what, but the way he's played has elevated that even more. How have you seen him handle not just the increased attention on the court, but just from, we've seen all comers?
We'll see. You know, that's an ongoing process for young people. It's a lot sometimes to take in both, the attention, positive and negative, and it's really how you handle that really determines a lot about your continued success or if you have inconsistency. Do you handle it with the proper humility that you need to, the desire to continue to get better, and then when you get criticized, do you handle that with understanding how irrelevant a lot of that is and keep your focus on getting better. So he's a really mature kid, special kid, so I would hope that he would handle it the right way. But there's no question there's been a lot of attention, and he's earned that attention here through 10 games.
Finish up with Spencer back here. Because I think it's almost unavoidable to go through ebbs and flows, almost roller coaster in college basketball.
Yeah.
30-game season or so. But
Yeah.
when you get a week off after those really positive going on, how do you kind of, give these guys the right amount of time off, but also avoid that complacency that might come with Worcester when it's two over-ranked teams, things like that?
Well, it's important. You really rely on your maturity of your captains. The leadership of your group determines, in a lot of ways, how you proceed after you've maybe won a few, because you're constantly fighting human nature. The idea of maybe pulling back a little bit. We had that conversation yesterday before practice, a pretty direct conversation about the importance for us to earn the right to play well on Saturday right now, yesterday, and then now we're going to have to earn it again today in practice. That's the reality of college sports, because sometimes you earn the right to play well and you play well and you just get beat. You just get beat. That happens in college athletics and college basketball. But as much as possible, we want to earn the right to play well in how we conduct ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And if we do that, we'll live with the results.
I know you guys take every opponent at the exact same level, but is it almost a blessing to get a team like Kentucky off of this week off than it is to get, let's say, a new major or something that you guys might
Yeah, I think, there is some real benefit to that. Now, obviously, we have 2 games here before we leave for Christmas, this one and in Tennessee Martin. So we need to finish up our pre-Christmas conference, our schedule well. But yeah, I think the reality is they understand both the Kentucky brand and they understand how good this Kentucky team is, and how talented these guys are. So at the same time, I think there's an excitement about playing, as there always is in this event, because you're always playing. I love the event. I've always loved the event. I've always been a proponent of playing in this event. I was a proponent of playing in the Crossroads, when we were at Butler. I think these events are really good for college basketball, even though they're neutral, and I would tend to lean more towards playing a true home and true roads, but these kind of neutral events against the caliber of these programs is a great thing for our program, and I'm glad we're doing them, regardless of the outcome.
And if I can skip one more, you said it after the game last week that you needed a couple cold drinks to get through the bye week.
Yeah.
Did you relish in those, and is it good? Do you feel refreshed to be back after having?
Enjoyed every drop. I enjoyed every last drop, and listen, it was a good. You take about a night, honestly. Sunday, I spent all day recruiting, and then as I did on Tuesday, Monday we practiced. So you're right back into it. But I do think we had a stretch of games there. You include Towson in there. That's a good team, and it was a high stress, an emotional couple weeks. But we revved it back up pretty quickly. We've got back in the gym. We put some work in here. And we need to continue to put some work in here before we leave for Vegas.
Can I ask you one
Yeah.
real quick, just because as I was on my way here, I saw Penn State had to cancel its game. Is there anything that you guys are having to talk about or do differently with protocols and things? It seems like this is starting to become
Yeah.
a thing again in college sports. Is there anything you're having to change or?
I think we've had to have real conversations, Adam, about what's happening in both professional and college sports. And the reality, as you know, we have a fully vaccinated program, but there have been breakthrough cases. There have been breakthrough cases among our staff this past year, or this year as well. So I think you're really aware of it, and I think those kind of conversations and that dialogue is very much a part of what we're doing right now, and I'll leave it at that.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, guys.
Don, just ask you